Okay, okay. Very good morning, my dear friends. Welcome back to Chandan Logic's English class. My name is Sham. So, my dear friends, a very simple, easy, but interesting, the most scoring topic in banking exams is word swap. So, what is the meaning of this word swap? The name itself gives you the clarity. You will have a sentence where there are some words arranged in the wrong order. You need to just swap them. You need to just rearrange them and make the sentence meaningful and accurate. So this is, in my opinion, this is the most, I can call it a scoring topic, because you don't have to work hard for this. You don't really have to read the complete sentence and understand it. You can just go by 70% common sense. Maybe 30% look at the context, look at the grammar. So today we are going to spend around 30-40 minutes on this very easy topic called word swap. Before we start the session, is my voice clear? Can you hear me clearly, guys? If yes, please message yes sir in the comment section. Straight away we will start the session, my dear friends. I once again welcome you all to the English class, and my name is Sham. We are talking about word swap, and this is of banking exams level, both useful for both prelims and mains and clerk and PO level. So whoever present in the live session, I'm sure can hear my voice clearly. If yes, please do message in the comment section. Yes sir. Here we go. So my dear friends, we have this question number 1 here called word swap, where the sentence has 4 words. Now you need to arrange them in the proper order, my dear friends. So can you find the right answer, guys? Can you find the right answer, guys? So this is a very simple section and a very easy section. The most important section called word swap in banking exams. Here we have the question number 1, and please focus on it. You really don't have to read the complete sentence to understand it. Just go by your common sense. Use your common sense, my dear friends. Use your common sense, my dear friends. The central bank warned that inflation arising from speculative commodity trading could eventually mitigate consumer purchasing power, although prudent fiscal intervention might erode the long-term repercussions before they exacerbate into a systematic crisis. So my dear friends, what do you think is the right order? What do you think is the right order, my dear friends? Last 10 seconds, I'll be waiting for your answer. Now, the normal procedure is where you have to really read the complete sentence and understand the complete sentence, correct? But let me give you a shortcut. Okay? Let me give you a shortcut. Here, if you observe, could is there, correct? Could plus V1. So when we have the helping verb or modal verb could, the verb should be in the first form. First of all, inflation is not the verb. It could be mitigate, it could be erode, it could be exacerbate. So there are three verbs possible there. That mitigate, that could eventually mitigate, that could erode, that could exacerbate. If you see here, purchasing power. So usually purchasing power either can be increased or purchasing power either can be decreased. If you take some good monetary policies and good governmental decisions, purchasing power can be increased. If not, purchasing power can be decreased. What is the meaning of the word mitigate, my dear friends? Mitigate is decrease. So if you ask me, B is in the B position only. Inflation arising from, A is in the A position only. So when A and B are in the right position, my dear friends, A and B are in the right position, my dear friends, then what could be the right sequence? What could be the right sequence? Yes, I am waiting for your answer. Yes, my dear friends. Yes, my dear friends. So the central bank warned that inflation arising from speculative could mitigate consumer power. Everything is perfect, dear. You're right. You really don't have to make any differences here. The sentence is perfectly perfect. There is no problem at all with this sentence. There is really no problem here, my dear friends. So I'm going to just give you some, brief meaning of this sentence. Central bank warned that inflation arising from some trading could eventually mitigate consumer purchasing power. So, inflation sometimes can come based on trading, speculative commodity trading. And then naturally when that inflation arises, people's purchasing power will fall down. Even though some prudent decisions, means very shrewd, very clever, might erode the long-term repercussions before they exacerbate into systematic crisis. Means even though there are some good government decisions, that could actually help prevent the long-term problems, still the inflation that comes from speculative commodity pricing could definitely reduce purchasing power. That is the meaning. Okay, there is no problem here, my dear friends. Option D is the right sequence. What do you think? Let's go to the question number 2. Let's go to the question number 2. Observe the sentence very carefully. But frankly speaking, you don't really have to read the complete sentence and understand the meaning. All that is needed is just use your common sense. And of course, a little grammar. Yes, my dear friends. Yes. I think the surprising part in this question is all the 4 verbs that you see, all the 4 vocabulary, all the 4 words that you see here are verbs. Correct? I think parts of speech is a little tough here. Parts of speech is challenging because all the 4 belong to verbs only. I think now you need to little understand it. The surgeon decided to dash the instrument. So first of all you tell me, there is a doctor and he wants to dash the instruments before the operation. You tell me, any doctor, before the operation begins, before the surgery begins, what would any doctor do? He would sterile the instruments or sanitize the instruments. I think both are very close, correct? Both are very close, correct? Okay. Both are very close, correct? Okay. Now proceed further. So now it could be this or this, correct? Impossible. Once the operating theatre had been thoroughly now tell me, once the operation theatre had been thoroughly how could you expect the operation theatre to be contaminated? No. Second option is right. So the instruments have to be sanitized and the operation theatre should be sterilized. Then, bacterial exposure could precipitate post-operative complications rather than contaminate. So rather than creating problems, rather than creating bacterial fungus infections, what is the best ways? Before you start the surgery, all the instruments, whatever equipment to be used in the surgery should be sanitized. The entire operation theatre should be sterilized so that we could reduce the problems. Easy. But again, your reading speed is important, your understanding speed is important. That is why I have been using this word comprehending skills. As a student preparing for bank exams, your comprehending skills are thoroughly important. Your comprehending skills are absolutely the deciding factor, my dear friends. Can you find the question number 3 answer, please? Yes, my dear friends. Only 10 seconds I can wait for you because in the entire banking exams, this is the easiest section if you ask me. Yes, my dear friends. See, what could be the answer, dear? Although the philosopher initially appeared so there was a philosopher who initially appeared one thing is for sure, although is here, correct? Now you take the support of the grammar conjunctions although. Now when although comes dash and dash, if this is positive, this is negative. If this is negative, this is positive. What do you think? Is my analysis correct? Okay. So now when although came here, if here is positive, here must be negative. But surprisingly, you see here, dogmatic is negative, equivocal is negative. Both are negative. Both are negative. Both are negative. So there should be one positive and one negative. There should be one positive and one negative. For example, if you say dogmatic here, again equivocal, both are negative. Now you come to the C option. Equivocal is negative, categorical is positive. This is a chance. There is a chance. Then what happens? Although the philosopher was initially equivocal means confused, not clear. So although the philosopher was in the beginning very confused, later he became very categorical, which is very positive, right? And I'll also give you something here. Refusing to dash any universal truth. So refusing to dash any universal truth. So refusing to nuanced any universal truth while embracing an unusually dash worldview, unusually dogmatic. See, generally, what is the meaning of dogmatic? Dogmatic is a very fixed belief. Dogmatic is a very fixed belief, a narrow-mindedness, a narrow-minded mind, a narrow-minded ideology. So when we say dogmatic, some people are dogmatic in nature, which means they really don't have a matured mind. They really don't have matured mind. They really don't have matured mind. Okay. So then what happens is, although there was a philosopher, who in the beginning was confused, later became categorical. So there was a philosopher who was in the beginning confused, later he became categorical, and he doesn't want any nuanced truth because the world is dogmatic. So my dear friends, word swap, I can call it the most challenging, most scoring topic, but still in banking level, especially PO level, what you need to understand is a little vocabulary also will help you. I don't know how many of you really got this right answer, and I want you to be very focused. Can you try the fourth answer, dear? Can you try the fourth answer, dear? Can you try the fourth answer, dear? That was a good question. There we are not talking about the verb. It is an adjective to nuanced any universal truth. Here you are talking about adjective. It is not verb. It is adjective. Despite years of meticulous investigation, lot of years investigation took place, the detective failed to dash. Again, if you observe, my dear friends, despite. So generally when you have this conjunction despite, it must be opposite. If plus comes, minus comes, minus comes, plus comes. Correct? Despite, even though, although, they're always like contrary conjunctions. They're almost like contrary conjunctions. Despite, even though, although, they're always like contrary conjunctions. Okay, contrary conjunctions. So despite years of meticulous investigation, the detective failed to dash the elusive suspect. So generally you observe, lot of years, there was an investigation that took place for many years. Then if that is the case, if there is investigation for many years, then if the detective failed, he must have failed to apprehend the suspect. He must have failed to apprehend the suspect. I'll give you one example. 10 years the police have conducted the investigation, but they failed to arrest the criminal or protect the criminal. Arrest the criminal, right? 10 years of police investigation, failed to dash the suspect. It could be positive or negative. Naturally negative. When you look at the conjunction, despite is already negative, failed is already negative, minus into minus plus. Okay. So apprehend here means arrest. Apprehend here is arrest. Apprehend here is arrest. Easy to answer. Okay. With astonishing dexterity. Everything is same. Despite years of meticulous investigation, the detective failed to apprehend the elusive suspect because fabricated evidence only served to implicate innocent witnesses, while the real offender continued to evade justice with astonishing dexterity. Apprehend means arrest, my dear friends. Apprehend is arrest. Now you will have a question like, sir, in the given question, conceal, implicate, evade, dexterity, but here apprehend came. So that is what you need to identify. On one hand there is word swap, on the other hand you also need to distinguish if there is any better word. Please focus. That is why I always use the word 100% focus is needed. I always say 100% focus is needed. 100% focus is needed. Because I have told you in the beginning itself, PO level exercises. PO level exercises, you need to be very focused. I think if you ask me, this is the easiest question, my dear friends. This is the easiest question, my dear friends. How? Can anybody tell me a shortcut here? Can anybody identify a shortcut here? Very simple shortcut, if you ask me, is remarkable. My dear friends, what is the meaning of remarkable? So remarkable means extraordinary. Remarkable is excellent, extraordinary. Remarkable is excellent, extraordinary. Now guys, when we use the word remarkable, it is a very positive word, correct? After remarkable, something should come here, positive word. If you see, this is the most positive word here, ingenuity. What is the meaning of ingenuity, my dear friends? Ingenuity means extraordinary talent. Ingenuity means extraordinary talent. Ingenuity means extraordinary talent, my dear friends. Like we say innovation. Gullible is a negative word. Gullible is very innocent. Scrutiny is a neutral word, but credulous is again a negative word. Credulous means, very innocent, and gullible is also very innocent. Here you said remarkable ingenuity, positive word. Remarkable ingenuity, positive word. Remarkable ingenuity, positive word. You need to be very clear about this, guys. Can you try the question number 6? Go by the shortcuts, dear. Today we will do only 10 questions. Easy topics, only 10 questions today. Only 10 questions today. If you feel this topic needs more practice, we will do one more session with 10 more questions. Maybe 30 more session, 30-minute session. This is easy topic, but still I find you not very confidently answering the questions. This is actually a very easy topic. Yes, my dear friends, not answered yet. The cyber security want that a single dash database. See, single dash database. So first of all, database is a noun. So before the noun, what comes is adjective should come. Breached is a verb, encrypted is a verb, fortify is a verb, vulnerable is the adjective. Finish. What is the point? Why are you worried about? What are you actually thinking? How easy the question is here. Vulnerable database could easily be. See, vulnerable database could easily be. Vulnerable database could easily be. If there is a single vulnerable database, that could be a vulnerable database that could easily be breached if administrators neglected to. I think vulnerable is okay, but if you look at the other options, they are not suitable here. The cyber security analyst warned that a single, and I'll tell you the right answer, there is some typing error here. The cyber security analyst warned that a single vulnerable database could easily be breached. A single encrypted database could easily be breached if admin status neglected to fortify. Fortify is strengthen. Fortify is strengthen. So increasingly sophisticated malware attacks. So sensitive. Increasingly sophisticated malware attacks vulnerable. If administrators neglected to fortify sensitive credentials against increasingly sophisticated malware attacks. I think there is a little problem here because either of the ways you try, you are not getting the complete meaning here. But don't worry, I will recheck this question and I'll clarify you in the next session. So try the 7th one. Can you try the 7th one? Can you try the 7th one? Can you try the 7th one? The archaeologists regarded the newly discovered manuscript as dash until multiple carbon dating analysis finally dash its provenance. Finally dash its provenance. Thereby rendering previous scholarly doubts entirely dash rather than dash. Fantastic question. In this question, there is no problem. Only in the 6th question, there was some error, maybe the typing error, but in the 7th question, perfect. 7th question, there is no issue here. Again, the same context here. Until came in, there should be some plus minus or minus plus. So the archaeologists regarded the newly discovered manuscript as obsolete. Obsolete means outdated, no use. Until some discovery, until some carbon dating analysis finally substantiated means support. Substantiated means support. Thereby the rendering previous scholarly doubts. Thereby rendering the previous scholarly doubts. And now here what happens is, the archaeologists regarded the newly discovered manuscript as apocryphal. You know what is the meaning of apocryphal? Apocryphal is also outdated, old. Outdated, old. Outdated, old. The newly discovered manuscript as bad. So this should be the bad. A should be bad and B should be positive. This goes in this order. This is bad and the discovery supported it positive, thereby rendering all the doubts waste, all the doubts cancel, all the doubts cancel, rather than rendering all the doubts cancel. So rather than, you know, minus. So it should go in this way. Minus plus plus minus. Minus plus plus minus. You understand that? This is called tone of the sentence. When you look at the tone of the sentence, this is what happens. When you look at the tone of the sentence, this is what happens. I'll tell you the clarity now. I'll tell you the clarity now. I'll give you the clarity now. The archaeologists regarded the newly discovered manuscript as dash. First of all, you don't use substantiated. Definitely substantiate should come in the second position. Because the discovery supported it. The discovery supported it. The discovery supported it. Thereby rendering the previous scholarly doubts Authenticate rather than obsolete. Correct. Second option is the right answer. Second option is the right answer. You read it once again, you will understand. There is a little vocabulary knowledge also to be used here. Can you try the question number 8? The diplomat, the diplomat attempted to dash tensions through discreet negotiations, hoping that the rival nations would eventually dash. Instead of allowing inflammatory rhetoric to dash the already fragile process dash. Any answer? Any answer? I'll give you a clue. Here you are talking about rival nations. So what would rival nations do? What generally we expect rival nations to? Become friends again, reconcile. Fatafat. If you don't follow shortcuts by now, you're wasting time. You read the sentence once again, dear, you will understand. Can you try the question number 9? The first 6-7 questions I have explained in the normal procedure. But now I want you to apply shortcuts. Dear. Although the corporation initially appeared solvent, years of reckless acquisitions gradually liquidated its financial stability. I'll tell you something. So liquidated its financial stability. So financial stability got affected. Reckless decision, so minus. So liquidated is perfect word there. Liquidated is perfect word, no problem dear. Fatafat. If you don't follow shortcuts, then what is the point? Last question today. And if you need one more session on this, we will definitely plan dear, no problem. Can you try the last question? Yes. Find the best shortcut. The environmental scientist gave a caution that indiscriminate dash of wetlands would eventually dash biodiversity. See, any scientist would naturally warn indiscriminate dash of wetlands, destruction of wetlands would dash biodiversity loss. So would accelerate the biodiversity loss. Whereas comprehensive restoration projects could significantly preserve a fragile ecosystem before irreversible damage became ubiquitous. So there is only one change to be made, my dear friends. So ubiquitous should be in the last position, no doubt. So projects could, comprehensive restoration project could preserve a fragile ecosystem. So ubiquitous should come here in the 4th blank. Here preserve should come in the 4th blank. Now environmental scientists caution that indiscriminate conservation of wetlands. If wetlands are conserved, there is no problem. So here destruction should come here. And then what happens is would accelerate. Okay, would accelerate. So this should be the right sequence. Destruction, accelerate, preserve, ubiquitous. Destruction, accelerate, preserve, ubiquitous. So there is one there is one change here. There is one change here. This should be destruction here. And then what happens is, if this is the destruction, here accelerate would eventually accelerate the loss, okay. So destruction should come here, and then ubiquitous should come here. I'll write the right answer here, my dear friends. I'll write the right answer here. So here destruction should come. I'll write the right sequence here. So the right sequence is, my dear friends, A should come here. One second, destruction should come. So here the first option is destruction. If you keep on destructing everything, that would accelerate the loss. And good decisions would preserve the fragile ecosystem. And then naturally what happens is, before this damage becomes ubiquitous means what? Present everywhere. Again, like in the 6th question, in the 10th question, there is the little change that needs to be made in the order, but don't mind. Usually we try to maximum make sure that typing errors don't happen, but today in this paper there are 2 errors, but I'm sure you will understand because I'm correcting the errors. So here in the given 4 options, this should be the right answer. This should be the right answer. Don't worry dear, don't worry friends. If you feel there is one more session that needs to be delivered, if you feel one more session helps you to gain more confidence, I will definitely plan one more session. This is actually a very simple topic, so I handled it in a very easy way. But I think if you need one more session, I'll come back to you with one more short session. 1 hour session is not needed, maybe a 20-30 minute simple session on word swap, okay. But take this section, a word swap, also seriously, because if you undermine the importance of this section, if you underestimate it, sometimes you make mistakes, okay. I'll meet you in my next session. If possible, one more word swap, I will take a session for you, okay. Right guys, thank you so much.